Let's talk about confidence. Episode 5, Team Confidence, when everyone needs to execute under pressure. Welcome back to Let's Talk About Confidence. I'm John M. Walsh, and over the past 4 episodes, we've talked about building individual confidence, how to push through the boring middle bit, how to recognise progress, and how to execute under pressure. But here's a question we haven't addressed yet. What happens when it's not just you? When you need an entire team to have confidence? When it's not individual execution but collective execution under pressure? Because teams present a completely different challenge. An individual can build confidence privately, practice alone, accumulate evidence at their own pace, and control their own development. A team can't do any of that. Team confidence has to be built together, in front of each other, with all the complexity of group dynamics, hierarchy, and different starting points. So today we're talking about team confidence, how it's different from individual confidence, and why most teams never develop it. Most importantly, how to build it systematically. I'm going to share what we've learned from measuring over 650 teams with our High Performance Team Questionnaire, and what the data reveals about confidence at the team level. Because here's the striking finding: only 26% of teams reach high performance. The remaining 74% plateau at what we call good enough equilibrium. And the gap between those two groups, it's not about structure or process, it's about confidence to use what they know under pressure. So let's dive in. Everything we've discussed in the previous 4 episodes, the confidence cycle, the boring middle bit, progressive challenge, pressure tolerance, all of that applies to teams. But teams, they add another layer of complexity that doesn't exist for individuals. Here's what changes. Complexity 1, the different starting points. When you're building individual confidence, you start where you are, your baseline, your history, your capability. When you're building team confidence, every member starts at a different point. Sarah from our previous episodes might have built solid confidence in speaking up, but if she's on a team where 3 other members lack that confidence, the team as a whole doesn't have confidence to speak up. The team's confidence is constrained by its least confident member in critical areas. You can't just build team confidence by developing one person. You have to develop enough people that the team's collective capability shifts. Complexity number 2 is visible practice. When you build an individual confidence, you can practice privately. Nobody has to see your early awkward attempts, your stumbles, your mistakes. When you build in team confidence, the practice happens in front of everyone. If someone's building confidence to challenge assumptions, they have to practice challenging assumptions in team meetings, in front of peers, in front of leaders. Every attempt's visible, every stumble's witnessed, and every mistake is public. This visibility makes the boring middle bit even more brutal for teams, because not only do you feel like you're not making progress, everyone else can see you're not making progress. Complexity number 3 is interdependence. When you build an individual confidence, your execution affects you, your results, your development. When you build in team confidence, your execution affects everyone. If you speak up with a concern and it goes badly, that doesn't just affect you, it affects the whole team's willingness to speak up next time. If you make a decision and it fails, that impacts the team's confidence to make decisions without excessive escalation. Team confidence is interdependent. Each person's attempts contribute to or undermine everyone else's confidence. And complexity 4 is the hierarchy. When you build an individual confidence, you're navigating your own relationship with difficulty. When you're building team confidence, you're navigating hierarchy, power dynamics, authority gradients. A junior team member might have built personal confidence, but do they have confidence to challenge a senior team member? To speak up when the team leader's wrong? To push back on an established practice? Hierarchy creates additional pressure that doesn't exist for individual confidence building. Complexity 5, collective memory. When you're building individual confidence, you're accumulating your own evidence, your own track record. When you're building team confidence, you're accumulating collective memory. The team remembers last time someone challenged the client and went badly. That collective memory influences everyone's willingness to challenge clients now. The team remembers last time we made a decision without complete information, we got criticised. That memory influences everyone's willingness to make decisions now. So team confidence is built through collective evidence and collective memory of what's worked and what hasn't. Complexity 6 is the environmental permission. When you're building individual confidence, you can control your environments to some degree. You can choose your practice situations, select challenges, manage your exposure. When you're building team confidence, the environment has to support it. If the team leader punishes challenges, team confidence won't develop. If the organisation rewards playing it safe, team confidence won't emerge. Team confidence requires environmental permission that individual confidence doesn't. All of this means building teams' confidence is harder than building individual confidence. It's more complex, more variables, more dependencies. But it's not impossible. It's systematic. And let me show what we've learned. Using our High Performance Team Questionnaire across industries, across countries, across contexts, we constantly see the same pattern. 26% of teams get to score over 80% or above. We call these high-performing teams. 74% of teams score between 60 and 70%, and we call that the good enough equilibrium. That gap between 60 and 80%, that's where team confidence lives. Let me show you what this looks like. A team scoring between 60 and 70% has adequate foundations. They have some clarity around roles, defined processes, regular meetings, competent members and reasonable resources. Everything looks functional on paper. But watch them in action. Project review meeting. Client has asked for scope changes that will create problems. Everyone on the team knows this will create problems, but nobody speaks up. Why not? Because they lack confidence that speaking up is safe and valuable. Later they blame each other privately. Someone should have said something, but in the moment, collective confidence to challenge a client didn't exist. A decision point. The team needs to choose between two approaches. Both have merit, both have risks. The team waits for the leader to decide. Why? Because the lack of confidence to make decision collectively and they own the outcome. Technical problem. Someone notes an issue early. It's minor now, but it could become major. They mention it briefly, but don't push when others don't respond. Again, why not? Because they lack the confidence that raising concerns more forcefully is appropriate. Notice these aren't incompetent teams. They're capable teams that lack collective confidence to use their capability under pressure. That's the 60-70% equilibrium. Now watch a high-performing team in the same situations. Project review meeting. Client agrees for scope changes. 3 team members speak up immediately. We've concerns about that. Here's why. Here's what could go wrong. Here's our recommendations. They're direct, they're clear, they're confident. Decision point. Team discusses both approaches. There's vigorous debate. They make the call collectively. We're going with approach B. Here's our reasoning. If it doesn't work, we'll adjust. Confident decision making without excessive escalation. Technical problem noticed early. The team member doesn't just mention it, they push. I know this seems minor, but we need to address it now. Here's what I'm seeing. That's confident ownership. Same situations, completely different responses. The difference? Team confidence. When we analysed the High Performance Team Questionnaire data specifically, looking at confidence indicators, patterns emerged. Low confidence teams scoring somewhere between 50 to 60%, well, concerns were never raised in meetings. They discussed privately afterwards, but not in the moment when it matters. And 80% of decisions escalated that could have been made at team level because the team doesn't trust their collective judgment. 90% of mistakes are hidden or blamed externally because admitting mistakes feels too risky. 60% of members waiting for the leader to speak first because they lack confidence to contribute regardless of hierarchy. Now look at high confidence teams where they're scoring 80% or above. 80% of their concerns are raised early and directly, in the moment, when it can actually influence the outcome. 70% of decisions are made at the appropriate level without unnecessary escalation. The team trusts their own judgment. 70% of mistakes are admitted openly and discussed as learning opportunities because the team has confidence that acknowledging difficulty is valued. And 80% of members contributing regardless of hierarchy because they've confidence their input is legitimate. Correlation's undeniable. High team confidence equals higher performance. So why do teams stay at 60%? That plateau between 60 and 70, this is the equilibrium where they're performing well enough to avoid a crisis, but improving further would require taking risks, and they're not confident enough to take them collectively. The effort required to build team confidence feels greater than the perceived benefit. So they stay somewhere between 60 and 70%, functional but not high performing, capable but constrained by lack of collective confidence. Here's what we see in these teams. They know what high performance teams do. They can articulate it perfectly. We should challenge assumptions. We should raise concerns early. We should make decisions without waiting for permission. They know what to do. They lack the confidence to actually do it as a team. Individual members might have personal confidence, but collective confidence, the shared belief that we as a team can handle difficult together, that doesn't exist. And without collective confidence, the team stays around that 60% mark. Building team confidence requires working on 4 levels simultaneously. You can't just focus on one, and all 4 have to develop together. Let me walk you through each level. Level 1 is psychological safety. This is Amy Edmondson's concept, the shared belief that you won't be punished for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns or mistakes. This is the foundation. Without psychological safety, team confidence can't develop. But here's what most people miss. Psychological safety is necessary but not sufficient. You can have psychological safety, the leader says, I want honest feedback. Without team confidence, members still won't speak up. Why? Because psychological safety creates permission. Team confidence requires accumulated evidence that using that permission works. So here's how to build that psychological safety. Leaders model vulnerability, they admit mistakes, they acknowledge uncertainty, and they say, I don't know everything. They respond positively when concerns are raised, even if they disagree, even if it's inconvenient. They thank people for speaking up. And they never punish well-intentioned failures. If someone takes a risk and it doesn't work, focus on the learning, not the blame. Explicitly invite dissent. Don't ask, does everyone agree? Ask, what are we missing? What could go wrong? What concerns do we have? This creates the environment, but this team still needs to build confidence to use that environment. So level 2 is individual member confidence. Teams are made up of individuals. Each person's confidence contributes to or undermines team confidence. If most team members lack individual confidence, they won't suddenly become confident when assembled as a team. In fact, they might become less confident. They look to each other for courage that nobody has. So how to build that individual member confidence? Well, it's using the confidence cycle we discussed in episode 1. Each member identifies one confident behaviour to practice. Start with small acts of courage in team contexts, speaking up once per meeting, asking one challenging question a week. Track attempts at the individual level. Each person logs their practice, builds a personal evidence. Provide coaching for individuals who struggle. Not everyone will develop confidence at the same pace. This builds the individual foundation, but team confidence requires more than individual capability. So level 3 is a collective evidence. This is confidence built through shared experience at the team level. Every time the team collectively raises a concern and it's valued, makes a decision that turns out reasonably well, takes ownership and succeeds, or admits a mistake and learns from it. The team accumulates evidence, not individual evidence, collective evidence. We as a team can handle difficulty. So how do we build that collective evidence? You've got to track confident behaviours at the team level, make them visible. Here's a real example. A manufacturing team we worked with scored 58% on the High Performance Team Questionnaire. So we tracked a few things, including the times the team spoke up with concerns, 127 times. Times the team made decisions without escalating, 89 times. Times the team took ownership beyond their role, 64 times. And times the team admitted mistakes openly, 43 times. Over 12 months, they were all tracked, all visible to the team. By month 12, their High Performance Team Questionnaire score was 81%. The behaviours had become normal. The team had accumulated collective evidence that these behaviours were safe and valuable. So celebrate attempts, not just outcomes. When a team member speaks up, acknowledge it. Thanks for raising that. That's exactly what we need. And review it quarterly. Look at all the risks we took as a team that paid off. Create collective memory of capability. Remember when we challenged that client assumptions and we were right. We can do this. This builds shared track record, the collective evidence that fuels team confidence. And level 4 is a progressive challenge. High-performing teams don't stay comfortable. They continuously attempt things just beyond their current collective confidence level. This is how they maintain and build team confidence over time, by repeatedly proving to themselves they can handle bigger challenges as a team. So how do we build progressive challenge? Well, here's an example of progression. Months 1 through 3, challenge assumptions within team meetings. No external stakeholders, just building the behaviour. Months 4 through 6, challenge assumptions with team leader present, slight hierarchy pressure. Months 7 through 9, challenge assumptions with project stakeholders, external pressure. And then months 10 through 12, challenge assumptions with senior stakeholders, high stakes. Each level builds collective confidence for the next level, and make it explicit. We're ready for the next level of challenge. What's the next thing we should attempt as a team? Support attempts, expect imperfection. Early attempts each level won't be smooth, that's fine. That's learning. Reflect and adjust as a team. After each challenge, what did we learn as a team? What would we do differently? What does this prove about our collective capability? Let me be honest about how long this takes. Months 1 through 3, building psychological safety and individual foundation. Everything feels hard. Lots of doubt about whether this team will work. Months 4 through 8, team's collective boring middle bit. Behaviours aren't getting noticeably easier, and there's a strong temptation to revert to old patterns. Months 9 through 12, first signs of team confidence emerging. Behaviours start to feel more natural, collective evidence accumulating. Year 2, team confidence established at foundation level and can execute confident behaviours consistently in most situations. It's not fast, but it is systematic and it works. And teams will vary in the length of time it takes them. Some are accelerated and can reach that confidence level in 6 months. For others, it's as long as 2 years. The average is 18 months. Here's some common obstacles that we face. Obstacle 1, toxic team member that undermines everybody else. One person who punishes speaking up, holds decisions, or blames others can destroy psychological safety for the entire team. Solution, address directly with individual. Behaviour coaching. If behaviour doesn't change, you've got to remove them from the team. I know it sounds harsh, but one toxic person will prevent 10 capable people from building confidence. Obstacle 2, organisational culture doesn't support team confidence. Senior leaders punish challenges, reward silence, micromanage decisions. The solution, build team confidence anyway within your sphere of control. Document, impact, advocate for change with evidence from high-performing teams. Accept that you may hit a ceiling, perhaps 75% instead of 80%, due to the organisational constraints. Obstacle 3, teams too busy to work on confidence. Urgent work crowds out important development work. And the solution for this is frame it correctly. Confidence building isn't extra work, it's how you do the work. Confident communication happens during regular meetings, not separately. Confident decisions happen during normal work. We're going to work the way high-performing teams work. Obstacle 4, some team members will never be confident. Belief that confidence is fixed. Some people have it, some don't. Well, solution, show the confidence cycle. Confidence is built, not born. Start with smaller challenges for less confident members. Celebrate small confidence building wins. Accept that some will build confidence faster than others. Everything we discussed in episode 4 about individual pressure tolerance applies to teams, but with the additional complexity. When a team faces high stakes pressure together, you get collective threat response. Let me show you what this looks like and how to prepare for it. High-stakes client meetings, major decisions, significant consequences, everyone's threat response potentially activated. What happens? If one person's threat response activates strongly, it can spread through the team. Anxiety is contagious in groups. Team members look to each other for cues. If everyone seems anxious, collective anxiety amplifies. The team's collective cognitive capacity drops, not just individual work memory. The team's ability to think together degrades. Hierarchy becomes more salient under pressure. Junior members default to waiting for senior members, even in teams that normally operate more flatly. The team may revert to old patterns under pressure. Behaviours that had become more confident collapse back to safe behaviours. This is why team confidence needs to be pressure tested, just like individual confidence. Same principle as individual pressure tolerance, gradual exposure to pressure. But at a team level, you're training collective execution under pressure. Example progression could be level 1 team practices confident behaviours and low stakes team meetings, no external observers. Level 2, team practices with slightly elevated stakes, maybe minor decisions with some visibility. Level 3, the team practices with external stakeholders present. It's got a bit of moderate pressure in there. Level 4, team practices with senior stakeholders present. High pressure. And level 5, team executes in the highest stakes situations. Maximum pressure and consequences. Deliberately practice team execution under simulated pressure. Practice difficult team conversations with observers watching. It creates pressure through visibility. Practice team decisions under time pressure. We've 10 minutes to decide. It forces collective execution despite wanting more time. Practice team challenges with stakes attached. This practice presentation will determine which team gets to lead the role on the project. Artificial stakes, but real pressure. Train the teams to function under pressure together. And here's some strategies for collective execution under pressure. When your team's in the high stakes moment together, what works? Strategy 1 is pre-commit as a team. Before the high stakes situation, the team explicitly commits. We'll speak up if we have concerns. We'll make a decision if it's ours to make. And we'll own our position. Making the commitment beforehand makes execution more likely in the moment. Strategy 2, designate roles. In high pressure situations, designate who will do what. Sarah, you'll raise a timeline concern. Marcus, you'll handle questions about resources. Janet, you'll own the decision on the approach. These are explicit roles that reduce the fusion of responsibility. Everyone knows who's responsible for what. Strategy 3 is support each other visibly. When one team member speaks up under pressure, others visibly support them. I agree with Sarah. Or, that's an important concern, we should address it. This visible support makes the next person more confident to speak up. It creates collective momentum. Strategy 4, recover together. If the team stumbles under pressure, if nobody speaks up when they should have, recover together afterwards. We didn't execute that the way we intended in that meeting. What happened? What can we learn? What we do differently next time? Collective recovery builds collective resilience. Strategy 5 is build collective evidence from pressure situations. After high-stakes execution, the team explicitly acknowledges what they did. We just challenged a major client assumption in a high-pressure meeting. We did it. That's evidence we can handle high-pressure situations as a team. And add it to the collective evidence log. Strategy 6 is celebrate partial execution. Under pressure, perfect team execution is rare. So celebrate partial execution. We intended for 3 people to speak up, only 1 person did. But 1's better than 0, that's progress. Partial execution under pressures, valuable evidence. Don't dismiss it. So what does team confidence under pressure look like? Same principle as individual high-stakes confidence. Team confidence under pressure isn't the absence of anxiety. It's collective execution despite anxiety. It's not this. The team feels calm and confident. Everything goes smoothly and there's no hesitation. It's more like this. Multiple team members still feel anxiety. Some voices shake. There are awkward pauses, but the team speaks up anyway. makes a decision anyway, and it owns their position anyway. That's team confidence under pressure. Collective execution despite collective discomfort. And the compound effect at the team level is the same principle as individual confidence. Each time the team executes under pressure, collective evidence accumulates. First high-stakes client meeting, extremely difficult, high anxiety, awkward execution, but they did it. Fifth high-stakes meeting, still difficult, still some anxiety, but notably easier than the first time. 20th high-stakes meeting, still challenging, but the team has 20 pieces of collective evidence. They know they can handle this. That accumulated evidence gradually retrains the team's collective threat response. High-stakes situations get recategorised from overwhelming threat to challenge we can handle. Not overnight, gradually over many high-pressure attempts as a team. Team confidence is more complex than individual confidence. Different starting points, visible practice, interdependence, hierarchy, collective memory, environmental permission. All of these make team confidence harder to build than individual confidence. But the fundamental process is the same. Accumulated collective evidence that we as a team can handle difficulty together. And that evidence is built systematically through the 4 levels. Psychological safety, creating permission to take risks. Individual member confidence, building personal capability. Collective evidence, accumulating shared track record of handling difficulty together. And progressive challenge, continuously attempting things just beyond your current collective confidence level. Our data shows that only 26% of teams reach high performance. The 74% who plateau, they do so because they lack confidence to use their capability under pressure. But that 74% could reach high performance. The gap isn't capability, it's confidence. And confidence, even at team level, is built through the same process we've discussed throughout the series. Have an attempt, have an experience, reflect on it, gather the evidence, increase your capability, increase your confidence, try a bigger attempt, just at a collective level instead of an individual level. Timeline is longer for teams, 12 to 18 months minimum to build that foundation team confidence. It could be as long as 2 to 3 years to reach genuine performance, high performance levels. But it's systematic, it's trainable and it works. And some teams will get there quicker and some teams will take a bit longer. So here's your challenge. If you're part of a team or you lead a team, ask this: does your team have collective confidence? Do team members speak up with concerns in the moment or only privately afterwards? Does the team make decisions at an appropriate level or do they escalate unnecessarily? Does the team admit mistakes openly or hide them? And do team members contribute regardless of hierarchy or do they wait for the leader? If the answers reveal confidence gaps, now you know. This isn't about capability. It's about building collective confidence systematically through the 4 levels we discussed. The core message is confidence isn't felt, it's built through accumulated evidence, through boring repetition, through sustained pressure, through continued practice, even when progress is invisible. It's not quick, it's not easy, but it is reliable. Whether you build an individual or team confidence, the process works if you work the process. I'm John M. Walsh. This has been Let's Talk About Confidence. I'll see you in episode 6.